200-story towers in every single small little neighborhood with no transit.
Yeah.
We're in trouble now. I'm kidding. That's a joke.
There's a thing we do in Ireland. It's called splitting the G.
Yep.
So when you have your first pull or your first gulp of Guinness, your aim is to get it perfectly in between the G.
Yeah,
Sláinte.
sure.
Splitting the G. Mine is dreadful. Yours is, we're about the same. Okay, we're about equally as bad. We're talking a lot about the housing market in Vancouver, how it operates, how it works, and I think the question that everyone has asked me when they found out I was talking to you is how we make it work in the city.
I think this is going to be the first time I'm going to have this conversation where I'm going to talk about the stuff that we're doing at the city.
Cool.
But I'm going to take this in a bit of a different direction because I think the city's ready for it now. Affordability, attainability is a big issue. The biggest two things that we can control as a city is permitting and zoning. And so a lot of our systems were cumbersome. It was taking way too long to get permits. And so we have this thing called 3331, which is basically getting a renovation permit in 3 days, single family home or duplex in 3 weeks, low and mid-rise apartment buildings in 3 months, and 1 year for substantive projects. I can tell you the renovations, we've hit the number. We're at 3 days.
3 days to submit and get a renovation permit?
Yeah. In certain parts of Australia, they're actually issuing permits in 12 seconds. We're pretty happy about that, and we're making a lot of progress on the other three. I think we opened up another 215 million square feet buildable space in our city. What that means is it could be another, I think, 70,000 units over the next 30 years.
So this 3331,
Yep.
this initiative, is that coinciding with the R11 zoning policies, the stratification and density policies? They're all kind of going hand in hand.
Everything is like, everything touches everything.
Yeah.
Right. I just think of the Broadway line. It just makes sense building along transit. All you got to do is you just got to attack everything head on.
But it does seem like you're saying density is the key, and housing and homes for people kind of trumps the view cones or the red tape. We need to get people into homes, is what I'm hearing. So correct me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely. We can't necessarily say density trumps everything, because that would be a very blunt instrument to answer a question. And you got to realize these view cones, some of them, like, we want to preserve the natural beauty and everything that makes Vancouver awesome, but some of these view cones, literally, you'd look down Canby Street towards the bridge on whatever that is, like 6th Avenue, and if a small little sliver sort of pointed out, you'd say, nope, you can't build. And you could literally take away 10 to 20 floors of something just on something incredibly silly.
Right, okay.
And so, and it's, you're not really impeding the view at all. You know, you do these things, you make it easier to build. And if we do that, we will attract more builders to build here. We de-risk the projects. You don't have to build these risk premiums in it because you're not waiting 6 to 12 years for a permit. And you take the variability or the risk of waiting too long, right? Like financing cycles, you don't know where your demand may be, cost of materials, labor, etc. And so we will de-risk that stuff. We do that. We have done as much as we can from the City of Vancouver's perspective.
There's this constant juggling of people want to live here, but we need to make sure people can do more than just live in a unit, right?
Yeah.
There's facilities, there's amenities, there's access to healthcare, which I still haven't got 3 years in. If you know a doctor, send him my way. What are we doing to go a step further past housing and units and creating those 15-minute cities or those lifestyles that we can create for people in the hubs, so we're not losing them all to the suburbs?
Well, no, and you hit the nail on the, nail on the hammer. No, you hit.
I hammered the head.
You hit it. You killed it there. And maybe I'll step back a bit and I'll tell you, I think it'll make a lot of sense when you understand what my personal goals are. You create a place where businesses can thrive, so not just in hospitality, but if you want to be in the blockchain, for example, or if you want to be in the green economy, or you just want to get into the next iteration of, natural resources. These are all good things. We have to create an environment where that can happen as well, and that's what we're focused on. And that's why we talk about swagger. But the whole swagger thing is really, let's create a really cool city with a great vibe and a ton of opportunity. And we do that, people are going to be super proud of our city. Vancouver has gotten its swagger back.
You think so?
Yeah, well, we've had more so now than we had a few years ago. We had Zach Bryan, we had Springsteen. This weekend we have Taylor Swift for 3 days, and she's ending her worldwide tour here. Things are going on, and we have pop-ups going on at Kitts Beach, as an example. We've piloted the responsible consumption of alcohol on the beach. Is that a sign?
That's a sign. We got to drink a little bit more.
The reason I had to share all of that with you is you're absolutely, you're sort of alluding to, it's not just about housing, right? And you're right, because, and I say this respectfully, because Detroit's, it's a cool city, and I don't mean any disrespect to Detroit. And if housing was the only issue, Detroit would probably be the #1 city on the planet, because there's an abundance of housing.
Yeah.
And it's not a knock against Detroit, and they're actually doing amazing things, and they're they're an up and coming, there's a rebirth going on there. But that goes into public safety, making sure people feel safe on the streets. That ties into making it easier to set up a restaurant. So you create an environment where entrepreneurs can set up restaurants or shops or bars or nightclubs or places where you have a really cool music scene or art scene.
You've mentioned Detroit, and you've touched on Australia. Are these cities out there that you are looking at as an example of what you can bring back to Vancouver to try and kickstart some of this growth and change?
Oh yeah, look, I travel the world, and we're just in
Don't say Dublin. Dublin's a terrible example for housing.
Yeah, no, but it's not just about housing. We look at all these different things, and so there's no one city per se, but there are great things about all these different cities. Like Austin, Texas, it has a buzz. Yeah. Right. You go to the Dirty Six, where the live music, or Rainy Street. It's really cool. It's a little edgy as well, but you know what? The fact is, there's a buzz there. I think of Soho in Hong Kong, where you have large condo or tall condo towers, but below you have all these really cool restaurants. They're not chain restaurants. They look like they're mom and pops. Yeah. Behind the scenes, they're not, but you know what? it looks like it, and so you actually have a really cool neighborhood in this, in this really dense city. I think of Nice, and you go to View Nice or Old Nice, and in the summertime, it's shut down. There's patios everywhere, restaurants, live music, art installations, and it's a really car light. So that was part of the inspiration for what we, the pilot in Gastown, and now we're taking the learnings and we're going to make it better for next year. So there's no one city that knocks the cover off the ball, but there are great things in every little city that we can bring back to Vancouver, experiment, and what sticks and makes sense, we'll do more of. And if it doesn't work, it's all right. Look, it's okay. We tried, it didn't work, drive on, we'll try something else. I'm a data guy.
Okay.
So house prices from 1995 to 2022 have gone up. So in 1995, the average house price in Vancouver was $500,000. And now, or at the end of 2022, it was $2.43 million. So it went up 381%.
Which seems like no one can possibly keep up with that kind of increase.
No. But if priced in gold, in 1995, it cost 958 ounces of gold to buy a house in the city of Vancouver. Do you know how much it cost in 2022?
I couldn't tell you in dollars, euro.
No, like in gold though.
Yeah, no, not a clue.
957 ounces.
So they're saying proportionate value-wise, it's more or less
in terms of gold, it did not change in price. Now, you can say I cherry-picked that range, but if you pick any range point, you have a variability of about 10% either way. You don't have 381% or 600% or 2,000%. And in fact, I heard a stat somewhere, house prices when priced in gold hasn't changed since 1930. So
was that greed though then?
No, it's not greed. It's a debasement of currency. And we got to get a handle on this, or it doesn't matter how much we make it better, there are going to be a lot of people that are excluded from being able to afford a home.
Downtown East Side, I've lived in LA, I've lived in London, I've lived in Ireland.
Yep.
It has always surprised me when I see a portion of a city that seems to be segregated and kind of like, that's over there. Mm-hmm. Is there a plan that you have in place in your next 2 years that you are hoping to kind of bring a little bit more vitalization? I know you're doing a lot of work with Chinatown, the UNESCO stuff that's happening, but on a wider scale, is there anything that you guys are looking at doing to bring some energy and life and a bit of security and safety back to that area?
Well, let's just call it what it is. We have a humanitarian crisis going on the downtown east side. And as a city, we've used every tool in our toolbox, and then actually we've stepped out of our lane to help address that issue. The provincial government, they made an announcement, we were lobbying them, that they're going to open up 400 beds to help. And that's a great first start, but we need about 3,000 beds for the region alone. The second thing we need the federal government to step up on bail reform for repeat offenders. Because I can tell you there are individuals that have had hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of interactions with the police, and we can't do anything.
Yeah.
And so until we nail those two things, the downtown east side will not get better. But the good thing is we have our answer. We know what we need to do. There's a beautiful culture in that neighborhood. Some people may not agree with it, but if you ever get the chance to walk around the downtown east side and get to know people and hear their stories, it will totally change your view on everything down there.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. I know that door keeps opening and people keep wanting you, so I'm going to let you get out there and get into the meaty conversation with Hayley. But yeah, I really appreciate it, and thanks for...
Really appreciate it.
Cheers. All right.